Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown between the Phoenix King, leading the forces of the High Elves up against Elfarian Shades and his Beastmen hordes. And we're going to be looking at a pretty fun unit actually, which is of course the Frostheart Phoenix, a unit we basically never see, so we'll be delving into a little bit why I think we never see it, but also arguably the coolest tactic I have ever seen from a High Elf player using this monster. So of course, up in the skies we do have the Frostheart Phoenix itself, and let's do a quick little brief overlook at its ability. So it does come in with a Blizzard Aura, does a nice little air effect debuff, minus melee attack, base weapon damage, armor piercing damage and all that good stuff. But the more important ability it has is attuned to magic, giving it a 12% damage resistance, which is really nice on such a large creature. But it only works if you have above 50% mana. And mana is something you kind of want to be using pretty much all the time it is available, so this attuned to magic doesn't work very often, apart from at the start of the battle, and that's where Phoenix King is really going to try to abuse and use the Frostheart Phoenix where possible. Apart from that, he does have Tunes of Shadow Warriors, amazing at dealing with everything in the Beastmen roster, due to the lack of armor on the Beastmen side. We also have the Hells of the Wind, some of the fastest cavalry units in the game, Lane Reaver's Regiment of Renown. We have Rangers dotted through the front line, good at clearing out chaff, as well as a couple of packs of Silver Helms. It looks like 4 in fact, roaming in 2 sets of 2, good for cycle charging down the enemy. Leading this force, we do have an Archmage of Life up in the skies, which is going to be a big part of this tactic we're going to be seeing in just a second, coming in with the Dwellers below, Regrowth, as well as Earthblood. As for the forces of the Beastmen, we have a bucket ton of Ungor Spearheads who have been vanguarded up in the face of the enemy, and they're going to be accompanying 4 units of Centaurs, some of which have great weapons, some of the other ones do indeed have throwing axes, and that is exactly what the Frostheart Phoenix is going to be darting for. More throwing axes as well just behind, with a Minotaur core, double Minotaurs with great weapons. These guys have been lumbering these massive axes to war, but they can certainly cleave some elves in half. We have a Brave Shaman Beast coming in with a Manticore Summon, and Morga the Shadowgave. But without further ado, let's get in and see what Phoenix King has up his sleeve or two. So he's going to be charging with the Frostheart Phoenix, which is going to be relatively tanky. It's definitely more tanky of the 2 Phoenixes, the Fire one being much better in the damage output variety. And he's going to be suicide charging it in, bombing it down. Now, this is a very expensive unit all round, so you're going to be thinking, this seems like a pretty terrible tactic. It has that damage resistance, but it simply can't deal with all these enemies. And of course, they have dogpiled on top of it, looking to surround it and slaughter it as quickly as possible. But then the trap is sprung. Dweller's Blow pops down. You can see roots reaching up from the overgrowth and just ripping apart these Centaurs. Look how much damage is being poured on them. That's a lot of Centaurs and Minotaurs taking huge damage. In fact, a couple of units starting to break off the field. It looks like Elfarian Shades was indeed summoning Manticores and also pushing in the back line with a couple of units of sneaky Chaos Warhounds that we didn't see before, shutting down some Shadow Warriors. So beautiful play by the Beastmen, but this micromanagement on this side did open up the back there to be the trap to be sprung. So if we very quickly take a look here at the Archmage of Life and see, was it worth it? So we look at the price at the end of the battle of an Arcane Phoenix, or Frostheart Phoenix I should say, but that damage value was 2,194 from one spell. Is absolute madness. Shadow Warriors are relatively decent melee combatants. They should be able to force off the Chaos Warhounds, but not before taking some pretty horrendous losses. Luckily, Silver Helms are doing a beautiful rear charge. The Rangers working as the anvil, as the Silver Helms slam down on top of the Ungors, breaking them. You can see that's happening all along the battlefield as Rangers start to reposition themselves as well and try to get away from those Minotaurs with great weapons. The Heralds of the Wind doing a nice job just poking them down where possible. I do kind of prefer the shielded Minotaurs myself because of this exact instance right now, where the great weapons do a little bit more damage, but Minotaurs by themselves do a huge amount of damage anyway, so I think having a little bit more resistance can be helpful. Shadow Warriors doing some decent fire in as well, but beautiful play by the Beastmen player, circumventing the Rangers and forcing his way onto the Shadow Warriors, realising they are the key threat. Likewise, in the background, he has managed to force off and deal with some of the Silver Helms through a mixture of great weapon Centaurs as well as the pair of throwing axes. Looks like that Manticore has been duped relatively successfully so far, and those poor Chaos Spawn shall be going back to whence they came as well. Silver Helms continue to charge in. Looks like they're trying to box in the Minotaurs with a lovely surround here. A big overcast Earthblood keeping the Silver Helms fighting, and because the Minotaurs have been so beaten up earlier by the dwellers below, as well as the pressure coming in from the Heralds of the Wind, as well as the Shadow Warriors. It looks like they will be going down on this left-hand flank. Now, the Beastmen, though, ever dogged in their approach. Chaos Warhounds chewing their way through Shadow Warriors. Really nice backline harass play so far, as the Centaurs do move towards the centre of the battlefield, where the battle shall be won or lost. Some of the Minotaurs are going relatively strong now, but they are supported by spear units, who are just poking down the Silver Helms. One unit breaking, another one on the edge, and even that Archmage of Life is getting very, very danger low, as more Centaurs pour into the madness. Although the Minotaurs have broken. That's a lot of the damage output of this Beastmen force right there. Manticore Summon does go up, looking to try to snipe out the Archmage of Life, and may well be able to do it. It looks like we have an Overcast, Earthblood, and Arcane Conduit being popped, but the Archmage of Life is forced back and out of this balance. Balance of power is massively in favour of the Beastmen at this point, but again, it is overly inflated by the Feral Manticore Summon. The poor Heralds of the Winds have now been caught by Centaurs. Not the worst melee stats on these guys. They are, of course, a triple gold chevron like all regiment renowned, but they're much better at that skirmish game, running very low on ammunition, however. Ranger's doing a decent job now, tuning through Ungors. He's kind of repositioned himself quite nicely here, the high elf player, to get his units on the correct targets. And a lot of the Centaurs are simply running for their lives at the moment, as Call to Violence goes down a tiny bit too late to save some of the Centaurs. On the back burners, we can see we have 2 units of Shadow Warriors with pretty much all their ammunition left, because they've been really neutered in their effectiveness to shoot all game. But now that they are safe in the back here, they should be able to continuously pour fire in as the balance power goes real back to the middle, and that's even with a summoned Chaos Spawn on the field and a Feral Manticore. Not looking too good for the Beastmen. They're starting to run out of steam, which can happen to them, unfortunately, as the Chaos Spawn did a good bit of damage here on the Rangers, but there is so many pointed elves left. Silver Helms crashing in the back as well, looking to overwhelm Morga the Shadowgave, and luckily the Archmage of Life has managed to recuperate some of that health and morale, and is now just looking to swan and swoop down upon the Bray Shallow Beast and force them off the field. Although some Centaurs with thrown axes have come over to say hello, getting some pretty nice burst damage in, but they need to fall back here because the Archmage will very comfortably defeat them in hand-to-hand combat. Shadow Warriors going to be adding more fire to the cause, pouring in shots into the rear of those Centaurs, and the back of the Beastmen force is broken. Balance of power is slipping out of their favour for the first time in the battle. We can see just so many troops are running for their lives. The Heralds of the Winds have come back. I've been pretty impressed with them using up almost all their ammunition, and as it does tend to be when you bring Morga the Shadowgave, here's the last Beastmen standing. And a big fat rear charge in the back is probably going to be enough to break him, and with that, Beastmen player bows out. A Pyrrhic victory for the force of the High Elves. Some awesome tactics, but what did it cost? So many men and a beautiful Phoenix. Of course, the Phoenix King has to bring the big boy himself with 1 kill. The Frostheart Phoenix only got 113 damage value, but did allow the Archmage to do some horrendous damage straight at the start of the battle. And I would argue that even if it didn't quite get the cost back, this is a single gold chevron Phoenix. We'll check out the price in just a second. I think getting those Centaurs damaged and off the field was hugely pivotal, because it allows the Shadow Warriors and the Silver Helms to carry the rest of the day up against the rest of the build. But really well played to these two guys. Elfarian Shades has been featured on the channel multiple times. Lovely guy. If you do meet him up on Quick Battles with her, feel free to say hello to him. And a pretty cool player as well. Likewise with the Phoenix King, making his debut here on the channel and representing the Extreme Meme team. So what do you guys think of this suicide charge? We will be going into damage value and all that stuff in a second, and checking out the cost of the Phoenix. But if you guys enjoyed, feel free to leave a comment down below on what was your favourite moment of the battle, who was your MVP, and all that good stuff. Or feel free just to say quack and give the video a big old fat thumbs up. It really helps push it out to more people, and you can subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's absolutely free and just gives you a little reminder when my stuff does indeed drop. And we're getting pretty scarily close to 5,000 subs now, which I'm very excited for. It's a pretty cool milestone, I must admit. Down below, there are a few links in the description. They're going to be links to my Patreon, where you can support the channel. Likewise, links to my Discord. If you pop into my Discord, you can submit replays, just like the Phoenix King did here. Get involved in events I host, and chill out with a load of cool people. It's a nice little buzzy community with over 550 members. Anyway, on to the good stuff. So, what was the damage value in the end of the Archmage of Life? 3,098 damage value is insane on a caster designed just to heal up your own troops. Certainly use most of the magic on that healing as well. So, good performance all round. Love to see the Archmage on the Eagle. I think it's pretty powerful. For the Rangers across the board, big kills, but not the craziest damage value. Certainly not too bad, though. Getting close to the value or just slightly over. Doing some really good work just chewing through the chaff of the Beastmen, and that's something they're very good at. We've already gone over the Frostheart Phoenix was basically a decoy. The kind of flaming ship, I should say, which drove into the enemy and then allowed, obviously, the big boom to come in behind it. Shadow Warriors did okay. Not the craziest damage value. 6, 5, 8, and 4, 4, 2. Mainly due to the real dogged play of Elfarian Shades and those hounds just hunting the Shadow Warriors where possible, but enough ammunition left at the end they could turn the tide of that key engagement and pull down those Minotaurs, so keeping them alive was very pivotal. As for the Silver Helms, a bit of a mixed bag. 389 damage value here, the other one 1065, 835, and then 514, so 2 performing pretty well, 2 performing pretty weak, but that is, you know, what you get with kind of mid-tier cavalry. Cycle charging down the enemy and also pinning them in the end game was rather nice. Heralds of the Wind, 1256 damage value. This is a matchup I think they're very good in because they have the pace to outrun the Beastmen, and not many units can say that in this game. Frostheart, mighty Morga the Shadow Gave, 1.2k damage value, not too shabby. The Brave Shaman mainly only just used for those Manticore summons. Ungors got basically run over by the Silver Helms and Rangers, but is to be expected. As for the Centaurs, really struggling across the board, apart from this last unit, which did get 1,116. The other two obviously getting torn apart early on by the Dwellers Below, a spell you basically never see, so I'm assuming when Elfarian Shades saw that it was a healing caster, he was like, oh, it's fine to bunch up on this Frostheart Phoenix, there's not going to be any vortexes, and then boom, he comes out of the bag with that. Tentacles with Throne Access performed slightly better, getting some pretty big damage as the battle went on. Likewise, the Chaos Warhounds performed really well, as we spoke about before, just shutting down the Shadow Warriors. And the Minotaurs, 1.2k damage value, 1,000 on the other unit, no spears to worry them. They performed pretty good here. So let's quickly hop into a custom battle, just so we can see the costs here of that Frostheart Phoenix, so we can judge if it was a good move or not. I'll let you guys decide on that one. It looks like we actually have a Frostheart Phoenix already loaded up. I believe it was gold chevron, so 1,888 is the value. Oh no, that's a silver chevron. Oh no. Ooh, 2,059, so very close on if it was worth it. Certainly a very cool tactic nonetheless, and it's always good to see the Frostheart Phoenix in performance. Why do you guys not think we see the Frostheart Phoenix too much? Again, let me know down below. I certainly do think it's because its abilities are just not as good as the Flames Heart Phoenix instead, so that's probably why we don't get to see it too often, but still, very nice to see it here in action. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time, peace, peace, and as always, stay awesome.